Going once, going twice, sold! You're listening to the Property Pod.
Welcome back to another week of the Property Pod. We've got all the boys on deck. Last week, Pat might have been a little bit under the weather. He just got back 6 hours before that, back from his big trip to Vegas, and we've got him back. But it looks like he's a little bit crook today.
I'm crook, but I'm back, baby, and I'm ready to go.
He gives it his all the time.
It's really funny because last week when you came back, I was like, oh, Pat is going to be a ghost. And when I was editing, I was like, oh, Pat actually had a fair bit of input for a guy who'd had zero sleep. But he had a fair bit of input for a guy who was running on probably pure caffeine.
I actually had pretty good sleep on the way back because I just had such a busy week. I got on that plane,
And just gone.
Just flat out exhausted.
Pretty much, yeah. I was like dead to the world on that trip back. This week, I've actually had time to actually digest what I actually did over in Vegas.
Yes, well, we tried to keep it pretty
Sobered
low-key.
up, and now I've got a chance of looking through everything.
Yeah. No, I'm excited to hear about it. Actually, as fun as it was, with as an eye on the on riding solo or a duo. Is that how you put it? I don't know.
I liked riding solo. It sounds
riding solo
sounds cool.
Yeah. It's good to have
Solo
you
with two of you.
back. Yeah, exactly.
But it was like
good
Han
to have you
Solo
back,
and Chewbacca. And you're the hairy
100%.
one.
Yeah.
He's got the right coloured ginger
Well,
beard.
it's funny because
Chewy.
it's true, you know.
So it was really fun doing the crossover episode while you were in Vegas.
Yeah, it was. I actually enjoyed it. I'll be honest, it was a little bit hard to hear you guys, so I was just like winging it a little bit. But I think I
it
listened
didn't
back to the
show.
episode and I thought it went pretty well.
And the other thing is, other than the audio problems that we had coming straight out of the gate, the interviews you got were just bang on. Like the listeners are either hating us for spamming them with so much content, or they're loving that Pat was actually the man on the ground grabbing some great content.
Well, that's it. At the end of the day, you don't have to listen to it if you don't feel like it. So
I'm going to go with loving it.
How did you feel talking to people with a mic that wasn't me and John?
I'll be honest, it's easier as a team than it is as an individual.
Okay.
When you're interviewing someone by yourself, you're trying to listen to them, plus process what they're saying, plus keep the levels for the microphones all good, and then try to have the flow of the conversation all happening.
Yeah, so you're multitasking across the whole board and
I'm
trying
not
to listen.
Good, and I'm not good at that. I was on struggle street a bit. That's why they only go for 10 minutes or so each episode.
It's hard to stay really present in that conversation if you've got four things you're trying to attend to.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I think you did a cracking job. There
Yeah,
was
absolutely.
actually really good listenings, like the Box Brownie guy. Obviously, I was pretty jealous about the Marvel guy. And that one that you did with the home prezzo lady, Kylie Davies.
Yeah, that Kylie, it was really good fun having a chat to her, especially since she just got off stage.
Yeah, no, you nailed it. It was really cool. Like, you jumped right onto all those people, and we really appreciated it.
Yeah, I would have liked to have got a couple more, but there's so many people over there asking for interviews, doing blogs, doing podcasts like us, doing video interviews.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, so no, it was good fun. It was very interesting experience. One that I'll probably definitely be interested in doing it again in the future some stage.
Hell yeah.
They do it also in New York each year, but unfortunately that's in the middle of winter, and I don't know if I like New York in winter. I think Vegas in summer seems more enjoyable. So I reckon I'll stay out.
Pretty straightforward.
I reckon I'll stay out the Vegas side for the next time I go to it.
Well, I did see there was podcast awards, so maybe we can aim to all head over there sometime and put it on the Property Pod's dime.
Well, technically it's our dime, so
Damn, I didn't think of that.
Yeah, we've got to work on some sponsors.
yeah, we
first.
really got to get onto that.
All right, so what we might do today is, I should catch up with John first. Sorry, I've just thrown everything at Pat and I've been a bit rude. John, how you doing, man?
I'm going to be really excited when the kitchen at my house is finally finished.
So you're still in reno mode?
Still in reno mode. I was thinking this morning with Pat being unwell, because we've been having, because my partner's been sick, so it's that moment where you just haven't, no one's getting a good night's sleep, which I'm sure people, the kids or whenever you've been sick's the same. But I've been trying to think, okay, well, how do you get in the right mindset before you get to where you need to be? So so what I've been doing is just making sure that, putting my pocket square on and trying to, dress sharp. And then I had this morning on the way, I had ZZ Top's Sharp Dressed Man cranking. It's like, because I'm like, I don't want to be here, but I got the podcast on, so I've got to be on.
So it's like that fake it till you make it kind of thing. You're like, on the inside, I don't want to be here.
No, but I'm going to be there, and I'm going to show up, and I'm going to dress sharp. time I pulled up, I was like, it finished. You're right. It was that, it wasn't because they come running as fast as they can, and every girl's crazy about a sharp dressed man.
When I pulled up, man, I feel like a woman. Shania Twain had just finished.
Oh,
so
beautiful.
Just wanted to let you guys know.
Man, your Spotify playlist is interesting.
I was listening to the radio. I was trying to win money on one of the
whatever it takes.
the quiz things. That'll pay for my renovations.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
But you talking about your renovations makes me think maybe we could do something about living with renovations or managing renovations in the future. That could be another episode.
Oh, well, that's a good idea, actually, because I did an appraisal, was it yesterday, and the guy, he wanted to move to Southport, and the house he's in at the moment, it's just, often the people will ask the question and will look, what do you think my house is worth? And I said, well, sometimes it's not that important. What I need to know is what do you need to do to achieve your goal of getting to Southport? And so that's when he'd opened up a bit more rather than just sort of testing me constantly and said, well, look, I really need to clear 400 on this place. But unfortunately, in the house's condition, it's just never going to make it.
Yeah.
It's like, mate, unfortunately, as it is at the moment, it's just not going to happen. So then we started to look at alternatives for, what would need to happen in order to get him to Southport.
Get to that.
So the thing is, though, is that, it's really easy to prepare your house quickly when you're not living in it. But when his whole family's in there and he needs to move quickly, what do you do?
Changes all the situations. Yeah, it could be something we could discuss on a future episode, just kind of put a pin in it and we could come back to something like that.
I think that's what I really like about this podcast is that just through general conversation with people, we're picking up extra episodes. Makes it actually creating the content for this really easy because we're on the field dealing with these situations and it's just really helping the people understand how they work.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
I guess 100%. It's just, real life. Like it is stuff that you guys talk about every day. So kind of just finding that into it.
Well, and also too, I'm same as you guys learning new stuff every week and there's new suppliers that are coming available. There's new technologies that become available. There's new services that become available. And like in that, we'll get into it later, but in that specific circumstance now, there is a tradesperson we met who you can do short-term interest-free loans with specifically for renovations.
Oh, really?
So there's that service out there now as well. So
that's something, we'll do an episode on that.
Yeah, I reckon he'd probably come in and talk about it too.
Oh,
yeah.
I like that. I do love a guest.
Absolutely. Yeah, guests are so much easier.
What are you saying that Aaron and I are hard to work with, John?
No, I am. I'm sitting here trying to sound intelligent.
Well, you look intelligent with that pocket.
That's all about
with that pocket scarf.
Sharp dressed man.
This is probably won't come as a surprise, but I'm not having a dig. But my mum's been listening religiously to what we do, and she's like, I've got a new respect for John since listening to him on the podcast. It's so interesting how intelligent he sounds. And
well, Mrs. Horn, you remember that we work together, you and me. We sell and buy together. Don't worry about John.
I'm going to take the compliment.
I think she just remembered John as the larrikin that would do the ridiculous things that we would do as a kid.
Yeah. And the secret's out. He's actually the intelligent one.
Yeah, he's the clued in one that was intelligent enough to know someone's got to do it. It's going to be me. She's just thrown it out there. You're getting some great feedback, mate.
Well, there's a guy who taught me once about the familiarity curve when it comes to relationships and coaching. And if you imagine, like, there's just a half a circle, and on the very far left, you've got no familiarity. On the right-hand side, you've got true familiarity. And the example he gave was build himself up from nothing into a multimillionaire, but his dad still wouldn't take any financial advice from him. And the problem was, he said, John, when it comes to coaching, I have to be, for my clients, I have to be familiar enough before I tip over into too familiar.
Yep.
Because if he goes into, he needs to be familiar enough so they've got their trust in, but not too familiar where they're like, oh, come on, mate.
Yeah.
You know? And so with your family, you're all the way over the right-hand scale, so they love you to absolute bits, but do they ever listen to your advice? Never. So I'm just thinking...
The one story I always think of with Mum is I think we'd gone out for a night partying in our youth, and I went and stayed at a girlfriend's house. We might have been drinking at my place beforehand, doing the old pre-drinks.
Yep.
At the end of the night, we got split up, and then you've ended up coming back to my parents' house where we'd started.
That's right.
And just, moseyed in the front door, which was unlocked for some reason, fallen asleep on the couch. I'm not there. And they've woken up and Dad's come out and he's, oh, morning, John. And, hello, Mr. Horn, how are you? And Mum's come out and it must have been a weeknight. It must have been...
It was a random night.
Yeah, it was just a random night. And then you're like, oh, Mrs. Horn, I've actually got to go to work. Do you have a toothbrush I can borrow? And Mum's like, I don't know, John. I'll check. And she's, yes, I do have it. Oh, thanks, Mrs. Horn. Mrs. Horn, could you run me down to the offices? Sure, John.
Oh, they're the good old days.
And there it is, brought back to reality.
Well, so I think that's the story I always think of. Mum
Yeah.
has this idea of John being the couch surfing.
An 18-year-old with
18-year-old.
afro hair still.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So she has that, and then she's like, "Oh, listen to the podcast. I'm learning so much from John."
I just love that you went back there with no body and just went to bed.
Well, we had an expectation that Horn was going to be there because I'm pretty sure that was the agreement.
And I think like that,
That'd make sense.
it
right?
totally makes sense in the grand scheme of life.
Yeah.
But it also is hilarious
That didn't happen.
that didn't happen and I wasn't there. But I think the great thing about our friendship is you can show up on the couch and you get a toothbrush, get some breakfast.
And a lift down to work. Well, it's nice to know that I've changed in those, 13, 14
It's
years.
been a while, yeah.
And all I can think is I'm glad my front door's always locked.
There's a lesson there for everyone, I'm sure.
All right, boys, we better talk some real estate
cool.
rather than just talking rot. So we
I want
might
to learn about InMan.
Yeah, we might shoot off and we'll come back in just a moment.
414 Real Estate has been operating within the northern suburbs of Hobart since 2006. With their innovative approach to marketing and managing your property, they have all your property needs covered. Find out more by visiting them today at 414.com.au.
All right, let's throw it over to the boy who's back in town. He's come from the big smoke. He's been catching up with Frankie Sinatra, Elvis, and all of the cool cats from Las Vegas.
Well, first thing is, I'm not sure how much I'm going to keep going at this real estate gig. I might actually go be an Elvis because, man, he has the life.
Really?
Yeah, just cruising around with that wig on. And
Now,
loving it, he was.
He was New Zealander too, wasn't he? The
Yeah.
guy you met? Yeah.
yeah, I was going to say, just to throw it off topic again.
We're good at that.
That guy was a marine biologist operating as an Elvis. He decided that was
Yep.
the better
Amazing.
future.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. And he really got into it. He never really broke character.
Oh, good.
And not only is he Elvis, but he's a marine biologist living in a desert. Like he couldn't get any further away from his chosen profession.
I don't know. There's a lot of tanks with fish in it over there. So.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Imagine if he shows up to clean your fish tank in his Elvis garb and he's like,
No, maybe it's like remember in the Deuce Bigelow film where he was the fish tank guy.
All right, that was my fault. I got us off track straight away. And I shouldn't have done because we've already talked for like 10 minutes of rubbish. So, Imman.
Yep.
It was really cool as
I
well.
think it's called Inman.
Yeah, Inman.
Ah,
but
that's
I'm
right.
Australian, so I say Imman.
That's just what we do.
Inman. Yeah, so basically, I have been back for a week now. I've gone through pages, and I mean pages of notes. And what I've tried to do is pick out probably my 3 favourite key takeaways. We briefly spoke on one of them, which is iBuy. We did the crossover.
Yeah.
But I thought it'd be good just to rehash it and just revisit it. But the one I wanted to start with is probably millennials. The reason I wanted to start with millennials is we've spoken about it before. We've seen stats out there that by 2021, half the world's population is going to be millennials. So
Now,
what?
So a millennial, is that what year were you born to be a
All right.
millennial?
I've been
This is
doing
where-
some research.
And I get confused on this because I thought a millennial, and you tell me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I didn't think I was a millennial. I thought I was Generation Y.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But somehow I believe millennial has now been morphed into Generation Y.
And Z and all of it.
There have been some changes in what it was and what they were, the baby boomers, etc. So the research I found had that a millennial is someone now born between 1981 and 1996. So that puts us
in that bracket.
smack bang in the millennial bracket.
Yep.
Anyone born after 1996 to today, they're a post-millennial. So I guess post the millennium changing over.
And probably be renamed influencers or something later.
Yeah, so eventually, because I remember there was like Generation Y there for a while.
And then Gen Z, and then
Yeah, and so like the baby boomers, kind of that makes sense for when they were around. It was kind of just after the war. And then looking back, pre-baby boomers, they're now calling that the silent generation. So I'm assuming that's based on the silent film era. All that stuff is kind of right there in the what's happening at the time. So millennial is kind of us. We're sitting right back. Because I remember that Talk About Your Generation show and that Generation Y guy who was meant to be representing us. I was just like, you're making me wild, mate. Like,
it's just, mate, don't do it.
I was just like, this is ridiculous. I want to be in the other generation.
You don't know anything about the Goonies.
Yeah, it's killing me. It's killing me.
Good.
So the reason I wanted to bring up millennials as one of my key takeaways is because they are, or now the way that they've redistributed the age brackets, they do make up the majority of people buying homes in the marketplace now.
Right,
So a lot of them are sort of our age, late 20s, mid 30s, and now starting to look to buy buy their own property.
Yep.
Well,
And
even your second property at this
exactly.
point. Too.
So
Yeah.
they're now starting to become sellers as well. So what the conference sort of came away and said is that 72% of millennials in America, and there's over 82 million of them in America, want to buy their own home, with over 52% of them believing that home ownership is the key to success. So
Right.
it's always been that way in Australia, where you have pride in buying your own home and owning your own home.
Yep.
But that's fast becoming a trend in America as well, where having your own property is seen as a level of elite or like a bit of status behind it now.
Yeah, gotcha.
But what that does mean is that agents are going to have to change the way that they communicate and the way that they work with these particular buyers. And so what has been sort of suggested by a lot of these speakers throughout the 5 days that I was there is, and this could annoy some people, but it is what it is build your marketing, build your promotion, build everything around millennials first, and then flow down to Generation X, baby boomers, and so on after that. So from a planning and perspective aspect, so starting at like the top level and working down, a lot of professionals are suggesting that we start with millennials about how we promote it. And it's based around what they want. So basically, millennials these days, they want things fast, which is pretty obvious. Like use Uber as an example. Like people now get angry if they have to wait 3 or 4 minutes for an Uber to arrive.
Yep.
Where before you'd stand in line for a taxi for half an hour.
Yep.
And that'd just be like, oh, yep, I'm in the line. And especially in Vegas with the Ubers, you actually have to go to Uber pickup stations, which pisses so many people
really?
off. You can't just
That's
like,
ironic.
I'm on the side of this street. Yep, I ping my map point here.
Yep.
You've actually got to go to a casino and go to a certain location inside that casino, and that's the only place they'll pick up.
Right, okay.
So this ease of use and speed is definitely something that millennials seem to want, and transparency. Another key takeaway is that agents need to become more transparent with how they promote things and the information that they provide, and not be gatekeepers like what we would have been, John, 10, 15 years ago. We've got to give everything out, and from that, work will return to us.
Actually, and another thing that's coming to mind when you're talking is the idea of social capital, where I think is a referral from your mate is not enough. You have to be able to have that Google back at so you recommend him? Great. Now, what does Google say about him? That makes sense, and you're building your brand around or marketing around that new generation where they're getting the information they need to reaffirm that their friend's referral is a good decision. Whereas once before, or use my dad example, in that generation, it's like, you used him, well, I'll use him. And like that trust is 99% of the way there. That kind of makes sense.
And that doesn't happen anymore. Like you can go into a...
Well, generational, that's the thing.
I can't remember if it's a stand-up comedian or something I've seen once, but it's that whole pub knowledge thing. You go to the pub and you're sitting at the bar and there's always that guy that knows everything, and you're like, oh, what's the answer to this? And turn to old Sparky over there, he knows. And you just turn and Sparky be like, yep. Or, nah. But these days it's, we'll ask Sparky, and then we'll Google it to see if Sparky's right.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's that, like we did it before the show. What's the Amish person? And we're like, but if Sparky was here, he'd be like, well, I'll tell you, the Amish, they have long beards and they do this and that.
What I like as well is that you're just assuming that one webpage you landed on
is
telling
right.
the correct
Exactly.
information.
Yeah.
It was just the first result that came up in Google. You clicked on that, you read it out to me and John, and we're like, oh, yep, cool.
Yeah.
We've just automatically accepted that with no vetting as to whether or not that source is true and correct.
Yeah.
But that's the world we live in now.
Yes, it's that same thing once before. We never would have asked a second opinion. We're still not asking a second opinion. We just brought it and went, oh, that'll do.
Yep. So that's it's interesting that when they talk about where real estate will go in the future, how we need to adapt to be able to meet the needs of the market.
Well, I had an interesting, even the dynamic that's changing in our marketplace. What are the two open homes we had last weekend? One inquiry on one, 2 inquiries on another. And then for the property we had 1 inquiry on, 15 people came through the open home, and then another 11 came through the other open home. So even in that, we're finding a change in people aren't reaching out first if there's an open home available. They're just rocking up.
Do you know what I reckon that is? And this is just me speaking out loud because I've seen similar things happen. I reckon it's because people are in the market we've been in for the last 2 years. People are so used to sending an email or making a call, and we respond with, sorry, that property's under offer.
Yep.
If there's an open home on Saturday and it's still on Saturday morning, they're like, this property
available.
must still be available.
Yeah, I reckon that's
so. They haven't bothered to reach out because they're just getting disheartened with the amount of sorry, it's under contract, sorry, it's not available.
Yeah.
Where with the open home, they're scrolling through Saturday morning's list on realestate.com or wherever they get their open home times, and straight away they're like, oh, it
is available
today.
and available. Yeah.
No, they wouldn't be running open home on that unless it was available. So
Yeah.
I think that's why you're probably getting pretty good numbers to opens.
Yep. No, that'd be interesting.
But that's just me. don't have any facts to back that up.
Even mine's just
Hold on, just let me vet that on my computer.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, these are just a new trend that we're seeing, you know. So even mine's anecdotal at the moment until I've got 6 months worth of change. But I reckon there's a lot of truth to that because it's just that, you know, they're so used to being burnt and sick of just calling up and wasting their time.
Yeah.
As a family-run business, First National Real Estate McGregor understands that the property market can be stressful. However, with a strong team in both sales and rentals, we are here to guide you through the property maze. Find out more today at mcgregorfm.com.
So I guess keeping the conversation rolling, it's great to know what millennials want, but how do we actually offer that service to them? So some of the key things that I saw while I was there was using tech, artificial intelligence, voice activation, and being transparent with reports and analytics. So that is a progression, I guess, to help millennials.
You talked about that thing with the open homes, opening the property the whole day with the locks and things. When we spoke to you on the phone, you were mentioning
with
that.
codes. And
So that's kind of targeting those people who time is either your enemy or your friend, and you're trying to just make it fit in to your busy lifestyle.
Yeah. And like voice activation, your Google Homes, your voice to text, instead of typing a text message out, using the little microphone on your phone just to write the message. So that's speed and that's ease of use. That's what a lot of people want. So it's about building ideas and stuff around making that easy for them, I guess.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then, reports and analytics. Well, with a lot of marketing that you do digitally, you get some great analytics and reports, and that'll help a millennial that's thinking about that's selling their property see that transparency that what we're telling him is true and correct.
And that's exactly what we talked about in last week's episode with the fact that you guys have measurable data on what your marketing does, and then you can share that with the millennials to be like, look, I'm not just telling you this is what I'm doing. These are the stats showing this is how I'm trying to get the house sold.
Yeah, so look, today's episode, there's going to be a lot that we've talked about in the past, but they were just key things that I think people should be aware of is how real estate is changing in the future.
Well, one of the things that's sort of playing in my mind at the moment is how such a large conference, I mean, obviously there was, like it said, there was things covering other peripheral elements as well, but that such a large focus is shifting towards this age demographic. You know, it's almost like, forget about everyone else. They'll just tag along for the ride.
Well, that's pretty much it. That's the general feel from the whole 5 days was don't worry about the other demographics.
Unreal.
This is your core area you need to focus on. And then from there, the others will just come along kicking and screaming.
Yeah, right.
Well, you've said in the past, Pat, haven't you, that you've gone to other conferences that are kind of, you've got key takeaways straight off the bat, whereas you feel like this one you went to was preparing your business for 5 years down the track or something?
Definitely. So most conferences, I'm sure you're the same, John. You go, you spend 1 or 2 days there, and then Monday morning you're in the office and you're like, yes, I can do all this. And you start just implementing stuff, or you think you're going to implement it and nothing ever happens. But most of the time it's stuff that you can turn on in your business.
Like quick wins, you could say. Yeah.
Where with this one, it was a lot more long-term things. It was trying to make people understand what is coming in the future. What should you be preparing for? How should you adapt your business moving forward? So, no, it was really good. But the second thing that we talked about briefly as well in the live show that we did when I was still over there was iBuyers. And I thought it'd be worthwhile just rehashing it and giving a bit more depth as to what it is and why it's something that we need to be aware of.
Yep.
So basically, iBuyers is basically where in America there's websites like Zillow.com, which is the realestate.com.au version in America. There's also Redfin and a few other sites. And then what they're doing is you can put in all your property details, a few photos, hit submit. Within 48 hours later, you're getting a cash offer with no conditions for you to accept to potentially sell the property. And what I think is interesting about that is that, once again, it is to a degree a millennial way of looking at things. I don't want the stress of showing it. I don't want the stress of preparing it for sale. I just want it done and dusted, move on. I can do it all on my phone and I can get onto my next location within 48 hours and not have to have a single thing to worry about. So I can see the appeal to some people, but obviously they are buying at a slightly lesser value than what potentially an agent could get, because they're not going through all the marketing and all the promotional aspect and the showing and getting people to actually fall in love with a property. It's just a data-driven answer as to what the home is worth.
And what was it, the interview that you had, was it with Kylie who covered this off?
Yeah, Kylie briefly spoke about it. Yeah, so I think she said it was about 40% of Americans are now getting an offer just to get an idea of what their home is worth, but less than 2.5% are actually accepting that offer. So that's an indicator as how that these offers aren't appealing, I guess, because they are at the lower end of the scale. But it does mean that us as agents, we're going to be working with vendors that have a better understanding as to what their home is worth because they've received this offer.
It's fun. It's good that you brought this up. I was looking on the InMan website just this morning when I came in just kind of getting ready for today's episode. I was just trying to catch up, and there was an article that was only just came out today. Zillow's stock price is soaring, and they're planning on expanding. There's like an infographic here that shows like all the places over America that they're expanding to. But one of the key takeaways I got from it was some of the comments at the bottom. The guy was referring to it as kind of like a used car setup.
Yeah, like trade-ins.
Like a trade-in. And the way you're describing that made me think of when you're going to sell your car, you go onto Redbook or whatever and you'll find out, like Redbook? Is that what it's called?
Redbook.
Yeah, you go into that and you type it in and it'd say, your car from this year is worth about this much. And then you've kind of got that as your base knowledge. And then that's when you'd go into all this iBuying stuff.
But iBuying is exactly that. You can go buy a brand new car. And sure, you can sell your car privately and get probably, 3,000 or 4,000 more for it. But a lot of people just say, you know what?
I'll just trade it in.
I'll trade it in. I can take it in on the day. I swap it over for my new car and drive out that day and I don't have any stress. And people are prepared to take a loss for it.
For
and
the
that's been
convenience.
going on for years.
It's kind of, and you can do it
what's
with
the difference to houses?
mobile
Like,
phone. Like when you've got a contract, you'll be like, there's a brand new phone. We'll come in and get the new iPhone X or Google phone and we'll trade everything in. And
this concept's not new. People have been doing it for years. It's just on a larger scale. So there will be people out there that this appeals to because they don't want the stress, or there's that dream property that they want to buy, but they're going to miss out on it because there's another offer on the table and they need to confirm their contract now.
They can't do a subject to sales, got to go.
Yeah. So there will be situations where these type of deals and offers are perfect for some people, or they've got the bank that's putting pressure on them to sell because they've been unable to make mortgage repayments. These are the type of people that, as bad as it sounds, that banking analogy, like it does help them out of a bind. It helps them just move on. And I think as agents, we need to understand that this will come to Australia. I can guarantee realestate.com.au is probably already working on it. So it will come at some stage. And I think when it does actually arrive, I think as agents, we need to actually probably go in with these offers and say, look, this is your option A, this is your option B, this is your option C, and actually just show it to them. Yes, you'll lose some sales, and yes, they'll go down that path of buying it directly through one of these websites. But I think if we're not being transparent and honest and saying this is an option for you, we're not doing the best by our clients.
Absolutely. And look, and that comes down to how do you define what like my job is, for example? Well, how do I define what my job is? And that very little anecdotal story I was told at the start about the gentleman who needs to move to Southport, but then he needs 400 for his house in West Moona. But unfortunately, it's just nowhere near a condition that it'd ever be a means that he could achieve that. So it's like, so my job isn't to tell him, look, his house is worth 400 or 300. My whole job is to build a plan that helps him get to Southport
from A to B.
And if that part of that plan is using a trade-in price, let's go for that. The good thing is there's no commission from me. What we could do is we can build an alternative, alternative service method that we can help you. And that's another example where we talked briefly about relocation agents, for example, where their whole job is to get you from there to there. So, just your service levels and the means in which you use an agent changes. So I've been thinking about a lot lately, just after we had that conversation. I think it's actually a really, really exciting service.
Yeah, and look, this has been around in America for 3 or 4 years from what I understand.
Right.
And when it first came out, everyone was like, the sky is falling. This is the worst idea ever. We're all going to be out of jobs. But now everyone's looking at it from a different perspective. Now it's been in operation for a little bit of time. And agents have adopted their method. They've now taking a Zillow.com offer or a Redfin offer directly to the person and saying, this is your option A. If we implement this strategy, this is where I think we can get the property to. What are your timeframes? What works for you? So I think coming back to why is Imman important?
Inman.
Yeah, I'm never going to get it.
Inman.
Why is it important? Because now that we've been introduced to this idea, when it does arrive here in Australia, we're not going to be those agents running around saying the sky is falling. We're already going to have grasp on what it is, and we're going to have things in play on how do we actually work with it and how do we actually use it to our advantage. And that's what I think a real advantage of what this conference is all about is. It's just knowing that it will come and just being prepared for it.
Cool. I don't want to be a stickler, but we're getting up there in time. Is there anything else from Inman that you wanted to just cover off quickly, Pat, before we...
Sure. So I'll be really quick in this last one. So the last one that I had a chat to the guys from Box Brownie about, and a couple of the speakers touched on it as well, is that marketing is moving to more immersive experiences. So clients don't want just a static feel, or they don't want your traditional marketing. They want to feel more from the marketing. So things like Matterport scans and VR scans where they can put on a pair of goggles and literally walk through a house or walk through a home that's not built yet, for instance, to get a better feeling as to what they're buying. that's what purchasers are starting to demand and starting to want.
Kind of that storytelling stuff of having actual people in the photos, for example, like showing the lifestyle that you may be able to lead, rather than just being like, hey, this is what the place looks like now,
and this is
selling that story of the place.
And this is another tech item and another millennial type feature, I guess. But if it means that it makes them feel more confident about moving forward faster because they're able to sit at home on the couch, put on a pair of goggles, as silly as it sounds, and literally walk through the whole entire house, then great.
Yep.
That's the service we have to offer because we're a service-driven industry. We need to provide what the people want. And I think although Matterport scans and VR scans are quite new still and there's not a huge percentage uptake, I think it's something that is definitely changing and something that's becoming more sought after.
And I think the real estate portals have now supported it. So generally you've got your static hero shot and then it goes to a 3D tour and then it goes to the video and then the rest of the photo tour carries through.
Yeah, so I think I read a stat recently, and I don't have any vetting as to if this stat's true or not, but 75% of people now want virtual tours, but only 2.5% of agencies actually offer them.
Yeah, well, I think the same trend happened with videos when they first started coming around. They're like, actually, this technology, this is a really good experience. We want it. And it took a long time before people started to catch up.
Yeah, so this is all coming, and it's just about being prepared for it. And that's it. Just ask your agent when you are thinking about selling, what services are available to me. I'm not here pitching that you need to come use me or John as an agent to sell it. But
actually, those scans are quite fun to do with a little iPad, aren't they?
Yeah, I've had John helping me out with a few of them when I go and scan them. And I'm like, John, it's like a grown-up game of hide and seek.
Yeah,
like,
it really is.
If the robot can see you, then you're out.
Yeah, so then
See,
that's how you wrote me into doing your work. You give me a fun experience. I'm like,
That's my teaching experience. I'm like,
what
how
you should
can I
do
engage
next time,
you?
John, is sit in the couch and have like a pose of reading the newspaper. And then move the
that's
camera
great.
and then go sit the exact same
in the
pose.
dining room, yeah.
I've actually I did a scan for a pub and their restaurant and their front of house.
Yeah, Aaron, you're in the shop
And
serving a beer.
I put myself serving a beer. I put myself reading the paper. And then afterwards they were like, "Did you have to put yourself in it so much?" I was like, "It was just so fun."
Yeah.
And
You're
it's like,
shopping,
where's Wally?
in the kitchen, like.
Yeah.
But
Not the worst idea.
they're my 3K takeaways. I know Aaron said we're tough on time, but that's what I think was some of the more valuable things that came out of it.
Yeah.
I'm sure things will come up as time goes on as we start talking about other topics, but they're my three favourites, I guess.
Cool.
But they're big trends though, and they do. I mean, they will have a significant impact on the way people experience real estate and transact in the future. So that's really interesting. Yeah, man. I was fascinated to hear your thoughts when you got back.
No, it was really cool. And look, we loved being in contact while you were away. We loved making the episode while you were there. I was kind of nervous that probably wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
And what was exciting is I can't wait to do the next conference.
Yeah.
Like now that this is what we do.
I think you sent me the flights already, didn't you, mate?
No, well, he's not going to the New York one.
It's too cold. I sent you New York. Now it's like, it's too cold.
Okay. Vegas, baby.
More fun in Vegas.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, guys, that was a bit of fun catching up. Hope you're feeling better, Pat. It's good to have you back on deck, and we will see everybody next week on the Property Part.
Cool. See you, gentlemen.
See ya.
Bye. And now for a legal disclaimer. You have been listening to The Property Pod, produced and edited by 414 Media House in conjunction with 414 Real Estate and McGregor First National Propriety Limited.
This podcast is general information only, and the thoughts and views expressed is the opinion of our panel, and listeners should always seek and use their own investigation into any topic we discuss to ensure they fully understand their own situation.
It does not constitute, should not be relied on as purchasing, selling, financial or investment advice or recommendations, express or implied, and it should not be used as an invitation to take up any agent or investment services. No investment decision or activity should be undertaken on the basis of this information.